All episodes of the first season of It Welcome to Derry is now streaming on HBO Max, so here's my review of It Welcome to Derry Season 1. I'm gonna go ahead and say it, but this might be my favorite show from this year. Last year it was The Penguin, now it's It Welcome to Derry. This isn't sponsored and all, but shout out to HBO Max for putting out some really good television. This show has hooked me from the first episode, and it's been able to keep up its momentum all throughout. In It Welcome to Derry, we go back 27 years before the first movie and follow a new set of losers as they deal with our favorite carnivorous cosmic entity, It. What I really liked about the show is the characters. I never thought they could make me care about a new set of losers, but somehow this show did. I went into this thinking I'm probably gonna be like how Harry Potter was when Snape took over as headmaster at Hogwarts.
How dare you stand where he stood?
But I ended up really loving these characters. You know a show has done their job right if you can't decide on who your favorite character is. Because every week they get you to fall in love with a different character in the show. Like if you asked me during the first week who my favorite was, I would have said Lilly. But then during another week I could have said Rich. It changes every week, and I really like that because the show successfully gets you attached to all of these guys. Now, much like the first two movies or any other Stephen King work really, It Welcome to Derry has themes of societal horror. Our collective fears as a society is brought to life in this show, and it is terrifying. Sure, it may be the star, but the series makes it very clear that the real horror is the people. People hurt each other, and to quote another famous clown, all they need is a little push. And that's what it is in this show. It is that push. It is an agent of chaos feeding off Derry's hate and fear and uses it to get everyone. Now, we obviously can't talk about it without talking about its most famous persona, Pennywise the Dancing Clown, who absolutely stole the show this season. Bill Skarsgård is deliciously evil in this series. He has not lost a step playing Pennywise the Dancing Clown. He's just so mesmerizing to watch as this character. I love that they saved his return for the back half of the show because I feel like there's a risk of overexposure. It might lessen the effectiveness of the scares if we keep seeing Pennywise. Slight spoilers for another TV show, but I feel like Welcome to Derry does what Daredevil Born Again was trying to do, but better. Because in that show, they do something similar wherein the main guy you want to see, in this case Daredevil, is out of commission for most of the show. So they have you actively waiting for Matt to come back as Daredevil, and it's done so in the worst way possible because each week just felt like a chore to get through because you were stuck with characters you don't really care about. But with It Welcome to Derry, you're never bored waiting for Pennywise because you get to spend a lot of time with characters you actually do care about. So when Pennywise finally does show up, the already great show that you were watching just got better. I only have one nitpick about the show, and it's the over-reliance on CGI. For the amount of good scares we got, there's an equal amount of not so great CGI scares. Episode 3 in particular, I think was pretty guilty of this. The scares in that one felt a little Scooby-Doo in my opinion. There was also a couple wonky green screen shots, particularly whenever the group was in the standpipe. You look back on the movies and yes, they did use a lot of CGI, but they also had a lot of great practical effects that really sold the scares. Now this is the part of the video where I'm going to talk about spoilers because I obviously have to talk about that finale. So this is your spoiler warning. To be honest, I'm still kind of digesting the finale. Part of me is a little torn because I was kind of getting ready for a really sad ending, and the finale wasn't that. It wasn't the tragic and sad ending I was hoping for, which I know is a weird thing to hope for, but in the 2017 movie, the reason Pennywise says fear before he goes back to sleep is because this is the first time he's ever felt it. So with that information, you'd think that its fight with the losers was the first time it lost. But I guess not, because it's been losing since the 60s apparently. I was hoping for this version of the Losers Club to lose this time because if you look back, they've spent most of the show divided. Lilly wasn't even there when Rich died. They've been building up Lily's attachment to the Rock and her downward spiral for the last few episodes, and after all that build-up, the group somehow talks her into being normal again. I would have loved to see her be the cause of the downfall of this group, because just imagine, after caring so much about this kid, like man, throughout the show, I truly felt sorry for her. The way the kids mocked her, how she's been sent back and forth into Juniper Hill and had to deal with that. Not to mention Marge, supposedly her only friend at the time, keeps doing her wrong. I also did not forget about that time they tried tricking her into thinking that a boy liked her. Because when she went to the bathroom to get ready and she says, "I can't believe that he actually likes me," my heart broke for that little girl. So after all that, imagine how heartbreaking it would have been to see one of the characters you rooted for be the bad guy. Be the reason they lose. Because really, how many times are we gonna see it taken down by the power of friendship? How many times are we gonna see Pennywise humbled like that? I wanted to see prime Pennywise, man. Show me the eater of worlds. As hopeless as that all seems, I think that's just reality. Look throughout history, many people who fought on the side of good don't always get the happy ending. Sometimes good guys lose, and it's up to others to continue the fight. Pennywise got humbled multiple times in this one episode. The kids not only successfully beat him, but Leroy was out here shooting him up while Ghost Rich flips him off. And obviously Halloran was out here slapping him around with his mind. I just feel like after we saw Pennywise essentially get bullied to death in It Chapter 2, this was the time to see him at his most unstoppable, to the point where you're convinced that there is no way bullying this guy is gonna work this time. I'm just saying, the more times we see him humbled and the more we lean into the more comedic aspect of the character, this is exactly how Freddy Krueger started to become a parody of himself in the later movies. I'm still holding out hope that maybe Season 2 gives us that dark ending I was looking for, because if It was powerful here, I want to see It at its most powerful as we continue to go backwards in the timeline. Speaking of the timeline, we got a bombshell revelation in the finale. Pennywise not only reveals to Marge that she is Richie Tozier's mom, but that It perceives time differently. To Pennywise, the past, present, and future are all the same. I thought this was a really interesting revelation because of the many possibilities this opens up. Because from that moment on, the series just became not only a prequel, but a sequel to the original film, since Pennywise knows he's gonna get beaten by the losers. But I will say, as exciting as this all sounds, part of me is proceeding with caution, because the second you introduce the idea of time into a franchise, things could get real confusing real fast and spiral out of control. So I'm cautiously optimistic about this whole thing. They're clearly setting up something really big based on the post-credit scene and the return of Sophia Lillis as Beverly, so I do have to wonder, will future seasons play with the idea of time when it comes to how the show is structured? Because Pennywise does say that time works differently for him. Past, present, and future are all the same. And since the series ends on a flash forward to 26 years later, I do have to wonder if the show will be structured that way as well. Because I do feel that there are still some gaps that need to be filled. Could we be getting similar flash forwards to the future sprinkled throughout the next season to give us a sense of how Pennywise perceives time? Like, say, who does Will end up with? He is Mike's dad after all. I feel like we need to see if he and Ronnie end up together and how he ends up in another fire that kills him this time. How does Leroy go from a man who learned that it's okay for his son not to be like him, to a man forcing his grandson to be someone he's not? How did no one bring up the events of this season during the first movie, the black spot being the only exception, of course, but Marge, Will, they didn't move out of town, and their kids are part of the losers. Why didn't they get the heads up? Where was Lilly in the 80s? Just throwing it out there, but what if she ends up becoming a new version of Periwinkle? Ingrid does point out just how similar they are. Both Ingrid Kirsch and Lilly Bainbridge lost their fathers at a young age. And sure, we get a scene of Lilly visiting her dad and coming to terms with his death at the end, but in her final scene with Ingrid Kirsch, Ingrid leaves a blood-stained handprint on her, and I personally think that this is them suggesting a connection between the two. Overall though, I had a really good time with this show. Sure, I had a couple nitpicks here and there, and I do wish the finale took a darker turn, but I am beyond excited to see more from this franchise, because the future is looking bright for the world of Derry. Or would that be the past? Or present? Point is, I love the show and I want more. Also, I really hope they keep the theme song from this season. I know it probably won't make sense to have a song from the 60s play on a show set during the 30s, which is when the next season is set in, but you know, the song is just too catchy. But what about you guys? What did you think of Season 1 of It Welcome to Derry?